Good evening, dear tutor. My name is Nelly Pakcha. This is my ID card. For this case, I relate my story about how I learned English. This story happening when I was 11 years old and I was just entering school. I remember that at the beginning, I was not interested in following the subject of English. I feel that the class become boring or rather it was tedious at that time, because I did not understand anything to my teacher. His name is Jose. He was already somewhat old, but he never thought the topic of classes as they should. One day he was sick. I remember well that he suffered from an illness in which he sometimes suffered crisis in the school. It was then that they sent a replacement. The teacher was a young and very cheerful teacher who was dedicated to the hundreds so that we would become interested in the subject. Her name was Rosa and she was very charismatic with youth. I remember one day my mom and my dad needing to understand some words of a syrup that was in English, and they told me to tell them. And since I didn't know how to say it, I was embarrassment that day. From that moment on, I remember that I dedicate myself to it understand it in a better way, just for the simple fact that if my parents ask me for a favor, I will be able to do it. Time went by. In 10th grade, I changed school and my learning improvement because there I had a native teacher who did not speak in Spanish and for that reason, I had to do everything to be able to understand him and not suffer in that subject. I strive a lot of get good grades and give joy to my parents. One day to see my motivation to learn the language, my mom enrolled me in an academy in my city, and there I improved all the strategies of the English language. Correctly in college, I have noticed that I have improved a lot because that thanks to that good teacher at school, I can say that I love to learn and understand this beautiful language. And I hope that eventually, when I get a job, I can successful important my knowledge and make my students feel confident and willing to want to learn with me all this. My mom used to say that if you want to learn something new, you must fight until you succeed. I will never forget those beautiful words of my beautiful angel. I also like the language because since I was little, I like the sounds in English, and since I didn't understand them, I want to improve. And now I understand them, and many times I love because they always say the same thing but with different writing. Thank you for your attention, dear tutor, and I think is my story for this activity.